This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the Riptide. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
It's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings.
All right, we're back. Having fun.
Lots of fun. Always.
You have fun plans for the holidays this year, John?
Yeah, and actually, it's more like just plans for relaxation. Mm-hmm. Given all the travel that I've done this year, it's a luxury to look for 3-4 weeks of not going anywhere.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's been a great year. I am looking forward to the next one. But I'm going to enjoy the holidays very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you, Porno Steve? You gonna be brewing? You brew over the holidays?
No.
Nah.
I'm going up north. My parents just hanging out, doing a lot of nothing.
North.
Yeah.
That's not really north.
It's northeast.
It's mainly.
Are you talking Ukiah or what?
No. Elk Grove, like Sacramento. Yeah. It's north for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And how you loving your Blickman Brew Easy?
I love it. It's great. I got a cool system finally figured out.
Right. Well, and how do you feel that is compared to where you'd be if you were cobbling together your own out of buckets and pots and
so I've kind of partnered with someone who I work with who brews exactly that with this wooden contraption that he made with stands that he has to carry and put things on top of them. I'm like, why are you doing that? You have to carry all that stuff,
right,
full of water, and I just turn these valves.
You need to crawl up on your roof, open the skylight, hang a hose.
That's all I got to do. Right? That's it.
Which has nothing to do with the Brew Easy. It's just
no. It's easy.
That's why they call it the Brew Easy.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get a Brew Easy at many fine homebrew shops around the world. And it's a supplier that happens to be the sponsor of this show, which is Blickman Engineering. And you can check them out at blickmanengineering.com. The owner, John Blickman, is a big fan of what we do on the show. That goes, maybe he was dropped on his head as a kid. I don't know why, but he likes it. And he's been sponsoring it pretty much since the beginning. And because of that, you don't have to pay for the show. And if you appreciate that, all you got to do is send him an email at feedback@blickmanengineering.com. Just tell him thank you for sponsoring the show, because if he didn't, I don't know what we'd do. John and I would be turning tricks on the street. It's not pretty.
It's not that bad. Advice to random strangers.
Yeah. We'd be out on the street corner giving advice to people about brewing. Yeah. Like, hey, bring advice. They'd be like, no, man, no. Here's money. Go wash yourself.
Here you go.
Why don't you get a real job?
Yeah.
they would be unkind to us, is what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah.
They would not appreciate our brewing knowledge, like y'all listeners. Oh, I can just picture it, John and I. Yeah.
Hey man, you want a free beer?
You want a free beer? That's a free brewing knowledge. You want some of my yeast?
Come on. Got a bunch of different kinds.
Let me give you my yeast.
You got like the trench coat with the vials of yeast in your jacket.
No clothes on underneath. Yeah, that I can see myself doing. Well, and speaking of great brew equipment, this episode is going to be dedicated to the everything kettles. I think it's Q&A about kettles. So when you send in your questions, you can submit your questions to Brew Strong at thebrewingnetwork.com. And you send in your questions and try and keep it to one question per email. It's much easier for us to handle that way. And we'll get them on the show sooner or later. We've actually trimmed down the backlog considerably.
Yeah.
And we'll get them all on the air one point or another. We try and group them into categories so you can easily browse and find those things later on. But that's all you got to do. Email them to us. We won't respond directly, but we will get them on the show. All right. Let's tackle our first question.
All right. This is about a stained kettle. I have a 15-gallon SS kettle, sadly made in China. Been brewing in it for 6 years. Use OxyClean to clean, vinegar for beer stone, but have built up a brownish stain on walls. Can this be taken off down to good SS? Any aggressive pad I can use? SS wool?
No, not stainless steel wool. That's not a good idea. You see, beer stone. You need an acid.
Nitric, phosphoric.
Yeah, nitric phosphoric blend. I mean, and you can get that if you're a commercial brewer. At the homebrew level, it's harder to find. Citric acid will start taking that down somewhat, but hydrochloric acid also will work, and that's swimming pool acid, muriatic acid. You can get that at the pool supply store. Be sure to wear gloves because it's a strong acid. It's like 30%, 35%. So it will give you burns if you get it on your skin directly. But
wear goggles.
Wear full PPE. Yeah. Goggles, rubber gloves, apron if you got it. But if you put some of that in there and swirl it around, that'll start dissolving the beer stone for you. And then rinse and follow it up with Scotch Brite Scrubby or something to help little mechanical action to get it off the walls.
Well, and it sounded like he was talking about a brown tint and not any sort of rough surface material. Generally, stone, you can kind of feel it, or you can. Yeah. There's kind of an edge to some parts of it. I'm wondering if that's just discoloration from heat or something else.
Yeah. Kind of like tea stains or something.
Yeah.
Which is, that's also an oxalate type stain. But if it's just a surface stain, then a kitchenware cleanser like Barkeeper's Friend or Revereware or Clean King or any of these stainless steel kitchen cleansers will take that stain off. If the cleanser doesn't take the stain off and it feels rough, then that's beer stone and you need the acid to get rid of it.
And if it's protein, then PBW eventually get it in the right concentrations and temperatures. And I wanted to comment on one other thing. He said, unfortunately, it's made in China. It's like, well, now, not everyone can afford every piece of equipment. And so, there's good stuff made in China and there's bad stuff made in China. just as it came from China doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I mean, we can talk about the global implications of that and the effect on the economies of many countries from that. But as far as the actual equipment goes, they are capable of making, great equipment. They are capable of making horrible equipment. It just depends on, essentially how much you pay for it. So a lot of times people equate China with cheap. And I'm just saying you can get good equipment from China, and sometimes the amount you're going to pay for really good equipment is not so different from what you're going to pay for equipment that's made more locally or sourced through a local company that is ensuring the quality of the product. And so sometimes companies will have their products made in China, and you're wondering why that they're more expensive even though it was made in China. It's because they're guaranteeing the quality for you. They're ensuring that the company that's making it is making it high quality. Again, you can buy good stuff, cheap stuff. If it's a cheap thing made in China, absolutely. Sorry about that. But I just want to point out that it's more complicated than, it's made in China or it's made in the USA. Not necessarily the worst thing in the world. All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we will have more of your questions right after this.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on two gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new boil coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Check out their brand new patent-pending mash and boil 110-volt electric mashing and boiling unit. This compact all-stainless unit lets you mash, sparge, and boil just about anywhere that has a 110-volt plug. Double-wall construction adds to efficiency and safety, and a precise thermostat keeps temperatures where you want them. Unlike insulated buckets and converted coolers, multiple temperature rest mashing is easy to do, all for under $300. They also feature the Mark II work pump, a magnetic drive high-temperature pump that does the work of pumps that cost twice as much, as well as exclusive Brewer's Edge regulators and quality Keg King kegs and disconnects. Check them out today at williamsbrewing.com to brews their vast selection.
Do you know the three most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Back to the beer guys that make other beer guys look like wine guys. Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're answering your questions all related to kettles. Yeah, and the next question is...
Boil kettle volume recommendation.
Yes.
I'm an extract brewer, brewing mostly IPAs and double IPAs. I boil outside over a turkey fryer type propane burner. I plan to purchase a larger kettle and would like your recommendation on what size to get. I want to be able to do a full wort boil of a 5-gallon batch with little or no chance of boilovers. Boilovers have been a particular problem for me since the beers I brew require mid to late boil additions of hops, extracts, and sugars, and because I insert an immersion chiller made from 50 feet of 3/8 inch copper tubing for the last 15 to 20 minutes of the boil, and sometimes make additions after that. Finally, I want enough capacity in the kettle that I'll be able to stir the wort vigorously to start a whirlpool immediately after knockout and not have to worry too much about splashing myself with hot wort. So here are my questions. 1, what is the minimum size kettle you would recommend to mostly eliminate boilovers? What is the minimum size kettle you would recommend to make boilovers a virtual impossibility, barring some extreme stupidity on my part? 3, is there such a thing as too large a kettle, and if so, how does that affect the resulting beer, and how large is too large? If I wanted to plan ahead for a time when I might do 10-gallon batches, what would be your recommendation for kettle size?
Yeah, I think
10, 15, 20, and 20, those are the answers.
Right. I think that the minimum you can really get away with is about 8 gallons.
Yeah.
An 8-gallon pot, there's enamel canning pots that are pretty cheap. That
aluminum stock pots.
Stock pots in that size, and 8 gallons is pretty good.
I've had boilovers though in those, but
yeah, I like the canning ones because they're a little wider. More important than as important as the overall volume is the ratio. If it's really tall and skinny, that can be an issue. If it's really wide and flat, that can be an issue. So, right. As long as your ratio, you don't want to. If you're doing a 10-gallon batch, you're gonna need, about 15 gallons of space, and
some headroom on top of that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be evaporating a whole shit ton of liquid because you're adding thermal stress. People overboil their wort. You just need, rolling boil. You just need activity. You need a churning of the liquid. You don't need it leaping out. You just need it rolling, and so heating it past that point doesn't do you any good. In fact, can harm the beer. So, I did 10-gallon batches in a 14-gallon pot. It was kind of pushing it, especially if I wanted a longer boil time, 90-minute boils. But if you're doing 60-minute boils, and if you're working with extract and you plan on sticking with extract, you can get away with a 15-gallon pot pretty easy, I think. And that tends to be a common size as well. Just avoid a really wide one where 5 gallons will be like nothing in the bottom.
Right. Now, was his original batch size 5 or 10 gallons?
5. I was thinking maybe going to 10 later.
Yeah. So, 10-gallon pot is kind of like a minimum, or 8, actually, as you say. 10 is a little better. A 15-gallon size, I think, works well if you're all grain brewing, because often you're collecting like 7 gallons of wort, and 7 gallons in a 15-gallon kettle is no problem at all for boilovers. It stays inside, but it's not too wide, too shallow.
Well, and again, it depends on the ratio, because you want to look at the pot and say to yourself, okay, my immersion chiller is yay high. If I fill up this pot with 5 gallons, is my immersion chiller mostly going to be out of the wort, or is it going to be at least mostly submerged so that it has the desired effect? So that's one of the things, and keep in mind too, if your immersion chiller, if the legs on it to the coil are not long enough for the pot, you're going to need to adjust it somehow, or prop it up somehow, or hang it, or whatever you're doing on the side of the kettle. So usually those legs are made long enough for certain pots, but not every pot, if you know what I mean. So that's another factor.
And a 5-gallon batch and a 20-gallon pot's can be completely lost.
Right. Yeah. And it pretty much stops you from making 5-gallon batches.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. And in my opinion, you never want to lose the ability to make 5-gallon batches, because that's the sweet spot. That's where it's enough beer to drink and enjoy and share with friends and have parties. And
not still have it left over a year later.
Yeah, exactly. You go through it fast enough that you can keep brewing and doing different things and learning and enjoying brewing. All right. Next question.
All right. This one's about splitting a batch into 2 kettles. In the winter, when it's below zero in my garage, I like to brew indoors. My 8-gallon stainless steel kettle does not fit on the stove because it is too tall. I rectify this by brewing in 2 separate kettles. I have an inductive cooktop that I set on the kitchen table. I can do a mini mash in that kettle because it holds a temperature exactly. It's about 3.5 gallons to the rim. I usually do about 2 gallons of wort. On the stove, I can do about 4 gallons without risking a boil over. The 4-gallon batch is usually LME or DME. I get it boiling and I add my aroma hops. I only do a 15-minute boil. The wort on the kitchen table I boil for a full hour after mashing. My bittering hops boil for the full 60 minutes. Then when they are both done, I dump them into the pre-chilled 5 degrees today. Large kettle in the garage, and the ambient temp brings it down to 70 degrees in about 3 hours. My question is, am I losing anything or missing something by not having these 2 batches cooked together, or is there some adjustment you think I would need to be super aware of?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. I think I got lost track of exactly which volumes are done where.
Right. I mean, the point being, he's doing about 3 or something like that in a mini mash, and then he boils that for a full hour after the mash. Okay. And then he's doing 3 or 4 on the stove using malt extract, and he boils that only for 15 minutes. And then he combines the 2 in the fermenter in the garage where it's cold, and it drops down to like 70 degrees in 3 hours. So he's getting roughly 50-50 maybe through the 2. It sounded like the hops were only going in the LME one, or the malt extract one.
Oh, yeah. Steve, is that correct? Look at that section of the question again.
Which part?
Where the hops are boiled.
A 4-gallon batch. Add aroma hops.
15
only
minutes?
do 15-minute boil, yeah. Bittering hops boil for a full 60 minutes.
Oh, so he's doing his bittering hops in the mash one, and he's doing his aroma hops in the LME one.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only problem you're really going to experience is that any calculations you make that you're going to try and apply later to a full-scale boil with everything at once are probably going to be off, because the bittering is not going to be the same boiled in a smaller amount of liquid versus a larger amount of liquid. And same thing for the late addition hops. That will also affect mainly bittering. And so I think that's probably the only problem you're going to have. It could affect maybe your brake material and the quantity of brake material you're getting out, and it may affect something like clarity. I think that, those things you might experience. But other than that, I think, it's probably fine.
Yeah, in general, it sounds good to me, too. The one concern I'd have is his boil gravities. If the LME boil on the stove,
if one's really high, and one's really low, right. That's
the only other concern, I think.
Right, because then when you boil high gravity, it affects again the brake material, the proteins, a lot of things, flavors, head retention, stuff like that can all possibly be affected, I think. So,
or just not be quite the style kind of thing. I mean,
right, or and again, I remember this question. Maybe he was saying that when it's nice out, he's brewing in the garage and he does full wort boils. Something like that. When it's deadly cold out, he goes inside. And so trying to replicate a beer in a full wort boil is going to be more difficult than, just adding them together. I think you should expect a slight difference. Maybe not huge, but you'll experience a difference between the two.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing that will help with however you're preparing your wort is using a quality yeast. And our friends at White Labs, they got some of the best. They've got pure liquid yeast, and pure liquid yeast means better beers. While White Labs boasts the highest concentration of yeast in the industry, thanks to their patented flex cell technology and pure pitch packaging. The yeast contained and delivered using these innovations are propagated in all grain wort, providing the perfect nutrients for growth and optimal performance. With White Labs pure liquid yeast, your finished beers will meet the high-quality flavor profiles that you intend to produce. Discover the White Labs difference. Visit whitelabs.com/yeastbank to find the perfect strain for your next beer. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll have more of your questions right after this.
Are you looking for a simple brewing system that's great for all grain brewing, but everything on the market seems to be full of compromises? Blickman Engineering has the answer. The Blickman Brew Easy All Grain Brewing System. The Brew Easy is a complete system with easy upgrades and a beautiful compact design, perfect for any size brewing location. At its core, the Brew Easy is built on two gorgeous Blickman Boilermaker brew kettles, a high-temperature March pump, and either a top-tier gas burner or the new Boil Coil electric heater. The Brew Easy adapter lid allows the pots to stack on top of each other, forming an efficient, strong, and compact brewing setup that comes in 5, 10, and 20-gallon batch sizes. Upgrade your Brew Easy system with full automated control by adding a Blickman Tower of Power temp controller, and make moving around easy with the Blickman Kettle Cart. The Brew Easy is modular. If you already own a Boilermaker kettle, you can build your Brew Easy by purchasing just the modules you need. The new Brew Easy all-grain brewing system. See it today at BlickmanEngineering.com and brew with Blickman quality on your new Brew Easy. If you work in retail sales, the restaurant industry, or are a new craft beer enthusiast, or you know someone who is, you have got to check out Beer 101. Beer 101 is an online course created for anyone wanting a quick introduction to the vast world of craft beer. Beer 101 covers the history of beer, brewing ingredients and processes, vital stats like ABV, SRM, IBU, and gravity, styles, tasting, glassware, and pairing beer with food. The Beer 101 course is offered by the Brewers Association at craftbeer.com. Also home to the truly awesome Beer Style Finder, a visual guide to every beer style. Quickly play with color, bitterness, and alcohol content to interactively explore the entire world of beer styles with a gorgeously designed interface to your favorite beverage. The new Beer 101 course and new Beer Style Finder are only available at craftbeer.com. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamil and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn-the-cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop. The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy-drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some at hereticbrewing.com.
The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
Do you like beer? They make beer.
Watch out!
Do you like friends and fun? They make friends and fun.
Watch out!
Do you still like to have a good time? The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
The 21st Amendment in San Francisco, located at 563 2nd Street, 2 blocks from the building where baseball is seen and played. Try their beers in the pub or try them in the can, featuring
Monk's Blood.
Made with real monk.
Watch out!
So why not have the best time of your life? Go to the 21A and Sean O'Sullivan will personally greet you with a can of
Monk's Blood. The 21st Amendment.
Watch out!
This advertisement is not in any way affiliated nor associated with the 21st Amendment Bar and Pub, nor its subsidiaries or affiliates. This telecast is not copywritten by the 21st Amendment for the private use of the Brewing Network. Any use of this telecast without Jamil Zainashev's consent is prohibited. Suck it, JP.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs, pure yeast and fermentation since 1995.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
Apparently, Porno Steve is going to be in Spain and to teach people how to homebrew like he does.
Sí. Working on my Espanol.
Yeah, Espanol?
Espanol.
It's going to be in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
There you go. All right. All right. We're answering questions. I wanted to mention the AHA member deal going on right now. It's going on till the end of the year, and you still got time to get in there. You can go to the Brewing Network website. There is a Join Now button for the AHA. You click on that. You use the offer code BN2018, as in Brewing Network 2018. And when you purchase a membership, you're going to get a free book. The Brewing Network gets a small slice of your membership fee that helps support the Brewing Network. And you get to choose from Wild Brews, Farmhouse Ales, and Brewing Classic Styles. Any one of those to add to your brew library. And, AHA is a great organization supporting homebrewers, looking out for homebrewers' rights, and providing a lot of great value for your membership. The AHA discount, which will save you a ton of money if you like to drink and eat. It'll save you a bunch of money. If you like to homebrew, it'll save you money. You get the Zymergy magazine. It's just just an all-around great deal, and you should sign up for it. And the free book pretty much, covers like half of the membership fee right there. So take advantage of it on the BrewingNetwork.com site. Click that join now and use the offer code BN2018. Let's see here. Another question.
All right. This is about kettles again. Weird. It's like there's a theme.
Right. It's weird. They all wrote in about kettles at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, weird. It's about stainless versus aluminum. Hey guys, love the show. What I have been experiencing lately is beers that have a strange high amount of bitterness, very sharp. I did some research and read about mash pH, and high temperatures could extract unwanted flavors from the grain. I bought a new digital thermometer. I was mashing at probably 180. Old inaccurate thermos. Now I keep it to 155. Recirculating the mash with a pump. pH is around 5 using test strips. The only thing I can now single out are my kettles. I have a 10-gallon hot liquor tank, mash tun, boil kettle, all aluminum. Should I upgrade to stainless? Just didn't want to drop $600 on stainless steel if I don't need to. I feel as the beer conditions in the keg, the bitterness either goes away or my palate is adjusting to the flavor. Keg transfer happens around week 3. So he thinks that there's bitterness coming from aluminum? Is that what he's saying?
That's what he seems to think, yeah. And then he says that bitterness goes away after a period of time in the keg.
I think he's...
As it conditions, or his palate is adjusting to the flavor.
Most likely has a lot of other issues. I doubt it's the kettles.
Like with his
Because I've had beers made on aluminum kettles, and they tasted just fine. You wouldn't have guessed it was on aluminum kettle. Or
that should not be a factor.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose if you were storing your mash liquor in the kettle and it was acidic or something, maybe that could start affecting the kettle, but you would see that. I mean, if you see
you'd see it.
Big black mark in your aluminum kettle or something like that, maybe
it would taste metallic first, right, before it tasted bitter.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I don't.
But you'd forget from the Alzheimer's you picked up, And so it's a 50-50. It's win-win. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a bitter old man now.
It's more likely a fermentation issue. I mean, almost always it's a fermentation issue. Or it could be his water's changing throughout the year and it's becoming, much more alkaline
Yeah.
So the pH is around 5.
Well, I think that's his mash, which is where it should be. But test strips are really not very accurate. So I take that measurement with a grain of salt. Test strips are not a really good measurement system. You need a meter. But it could be pH, it could be temperature. Certainly his, if he thought he was mashing at 180 before, that's a clear problem. Right. Although that would have denatured all of his enzymes.
Right. I'm not sure how that worked.
Yeah.
Because if you're mashing at 180, you're not mashing. You're just making starch liquid.
Yeah.
So
I get the short answer to his question is I don't think it's his kettles. Those should be fine.
Don't spend the money on the kettles. Spend the money on. Focus more on your fermentation, sanitation, temperature control. That's where beer's really made.
Yeah. And if he's losing flavor in the keg, then we'll try to purge the headspace in the keg before you can carbonate, because that could be
oxidation. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Another question.
This one's about brew length scaling. I, as a home brewer, have won some major trophies for my beers in national comps in Australia and would like to take these recipes commercial. We have a Herms mash tun system and a 12 HI electric 72 kilowatts brew length kettle.
HL, hectoliter.
HL. So can you give me advice on how to scale up these recipes? I expect to get better hop utilization in the kettle, but how much? Would 3% better utilization be enough to start? What did you achieve? Is there any other consideration given with scaling of specialty malts?
So the more I've done this, the less I think the common wisdom from homebrew lore in the past was all about, it's different because you're scaling it, and I think if you maintain the same boil and your kettle ratios are the same, it's simple math. It's not like all of a sudden the rules of math and physics go out the window. Everything does scale directly. The reason why you experience these changes in recipe when you do scale up to commercial, if you've done a small batch at home and then you win a brew day at a brewery or something, and you get to brew your beer there. The reason the beer turns out different is a few things. One is a lot of times homebrewers are not getting a good rolling boil and exchanging the liquid throughout and tumbling the liquid in their kettle. Other times they're not getting a good extract, so they're not crushing their malt properly, or where they're getting it crushed is not crushing it properly, and so their extract amount is going to change, and that applies also to your specialty grains and the amount that you extract out of those, and so that tends to throw it off. And then also, the quality of fermentation, a lot of times that, and the scale of the fermenters, if you're going to a real tall tank, that will impact the behavior of the yeast and the results from the yeast. But also you tend to get better fermentation, a drier finish. Now, there are some real experienced homebrewers that are doing amazing jobs on the homebrew scale, and I think that their recipes will probably transfer quite well to the commercial arena, still with some of those caveats, things to look out for. But I don't think it is, there's no weird magic as to how to scale. I think it can be very direct. But I will caution you this. If you think that the most important thing about going commercial is being able to use your homebrew recipes, then you're probably going to fail as a commercial brewer, because that is about the least important aspect of commercial brewing. And the most important aspect is being able to, properly sanitize, and which can be very difficult on a large scale. It's not just splashing around some chemicals, properly cleaning, properly pitching yeast, the proper amounts, healthy yeast, maintaining a healthy pitch, properly packaging without, oxidizing your beer, contaminating your beer. All that one's huge. And all that is far more important than the recipe you started with. If you're thinking your recipes are going to gain you, great results and great followers and, huge commercial success, everybody's got great recipes, and that's not going to do it, unless you found some magical, special ingredient that nobody knows about. Everybody, whatever recipe you have, somebody else is brewing essentially the same recipe somewhere else, and the 0.25% of whatever malt that is in there different is not really making the difference. It's all about the actual brewing process that makes the success there. Was that too cold and brutal? A hard slap of reality?
No, it was
informative.
informative.
It was a good slap.
As long as there's information in there that can be used.
Right.
But I
Slap
think
me as hard as you want.
the question of hop utilization.
Did I throw in a no offense taken? Because then it's okay. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah. But I mean, hop utilization does increase a fair amount going from homebrew to commercial.
Yeah. I don't think so, because the act of boiling is exactly the same. If the specific gravity is the same, everything else is the same, there's no difference. It really doesn't change utilization.
Have you scaled up any of your homebrew recipes?
Yeah.
At Heretic?
Yep.
Then it was pretty direct.
Yep. There's really no difference between it, because you could do it in a cup, you could do it in a swimming pool. If the vigor of the boil is the same, and your kettle ratios are the same, it's going to be the same IBUs. If everything else being the same, larger does not change hop utilization.
Surface to volume doesn't.
Surface to volume, it can, based on.
I mean, I'm granted, I have never directly addressed this problem myself, but in collaboration brews and other people I've talked with, it seems like hop utilization is 35% versus 30% for homebrew.
Again, that's a popular misconception, because I mean, and you're a science man. Think about the physics of what's going on, and it doesn't matter if it's larger or smaller, if the temperature and the motion are all the same, and the ingredients are the same, and the gravity's the same, the pH is the same. What tends to happen is, the whatever brewery has different water, or it's they get a lower pH at a certain point, or again, better attenuation in the fermentation, and so you're almost never checking the IBU content of the homebrew wort versus the commercial wort. You're just waiting to the end and saying, oh, it tastes more bitter. Well, yeah, it's probably the same IBUs, or it could be less IBUs or more IBUs based on the how the yeast performed and how fermentation was and all these other factors. What I'm saying is the actual physics of boiling hops and extracting isoalpha acids, I think there's no difference between those two. See my argument?
Okay. Yeah.
But I think there are other factors that do affect that. I'm just saying it's not the size of the kettle. It's not the size of the batch. It's other factors. So I think you can scale up your recipe directly, and then you need to make any adjustments based on, your mash efficiency is better at homebrew or better at the commercial brew size, right?
Yeah.
That would affect it. Your attenuation, your amount of oxygen you're giving it, you've given it zinc, you've given all this stuff. Oh, your fermentation is going to go better in the commercial brewery. So it's probably going to end up a little drier, so you need to account for that. So those are the things you need to account for, but not scaling the recipe. I mean, I used to think you had to scale the recipe that way, but doing the side-by-side can you brew it, the clone brews. I ended up just scaling them down pretty much exactly, and trying to get people to match the way they were brewing versus...
What do you mean pretty much exactly?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's difficult. But, because you're talking about, like hundredths of a gram and stupid measurements like that. So you round off a little bit.
Yeah.
But the most important thing was getting them to brew like whatever brewery you were cloning. That was more important, and fermentation. And the the source of the ingredients. So it's not enough to say, oh, I'm using Crystal 40. Well, you're using an American Crystal 40, you're using a British Crystal 40, you're using a German Crystal 40. What Crystal 40 are you using? If you're using a British one, which malt straw are you using? Even, year to year, all that changes, and it has a huge impact on the flavor of the beer. And something like that, using a British Crystal versus an American Crystal, the British one's going to taste less bitter. No matter the same IBUs in both, you swap those two out, it's going to appear to be less bitter. And all you did was change the source of the crystal malt. So all these other factors are more important. I really believe recipes scale up directly now. I truly believe that. And it's these other factors that we're saying are because we scaled up. It's like, well, no. That's not how the physics of it work.
Huh. Very good.
Let me tell you about GrogTag. Once you make your great homebrew, and you've got your award-winning homebrew, I would say that you want to put great labels on it. Or, if you're making your own little man cave bar, you want to put up some signage, have some coasters, things like that. Well, you can get it all at GrogTag. GrogTag's your your online homebrew customization shop. They have it all from reusable beer and wine labels to durable metal signs to high-quality coasters, and everything is customizable. So get creative over on grogtag.com with one of our hundreds of templates. It will print it on high-quality materials and ship it out to you. It's easy. Check out grogtag.com today. Use the offer code BNARMY to save 10% on your next order. That's grogtag.com, and use the offer code BNARMY to save yourself 10%. Check it out. All right, let's take a short break, and we'll wrap up with one last question after this.
Brewing great beer is a process of continuous learning, and the best books on every aspect of brewing can be found at Brewers Publications, with more than 50 awesome titles like Modern Homebrew Recipes by Gordon Strong, Designing Great Beers, The Ultimate Guide to Brewing Classic Beer Styles by Ray Daniels, American Sour Beers, Innovative Techniques for Mixed Fermentations by Michael Tonsmeyer, For the Love of Hops, The Practical Guide to Aroma, Bitterness, and the Culture of Hops by Stan Hieronymus, and Radical Brewing, Recipes, Tales, and World-Altering Meditations in a Glass by Randy Mosher, plus many, many more. These are the books and the authors with the knowledge to push your brewing farther than you thought possible. And you'll find them all at fine homebrew and book retailers everywhere. And visit the website at brewerspublications.com. Brewers Publications, all the best on beer and brewing.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Your support of the Brewing Network means everything to us. We couldn't produce shows without you. And we love giving you something extra for that support, like Brew Your Own magazine. You already know it's a great brewing magazine full of recipes, equipment how-tos, discussions of beer styles, and brewing techniques. Whether you're new to brewing and just starting out, or you're an old pro, you'll always learn something from the articles in Brew Your Own. Plus, there are amazing special issues like plans for building a Brutus 10 system, 250 classic clone recipes, and the Homebrewer's Answer Book. Brew Your Own magazine and BYO.com are awesome resources for any brewer, whether for yourself or as a gift. When you subscribe or resubscribe from the Brewing Network homepage, you directly support programs like this. Get a great magazine and support the Brewing Network. Subscribe to Brew Your Own right from the BrewingNetwork.com.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're answering questions about kettles and kettle-related issues. And we've got one question left.
All right, this one's about steam-jacketed kettles. Hey guys, I've been a long-time listener via podcasts, and thanks to your advice, have enjoyed competition success. I have even been working as a pro brewer for a while in a contract brewery. During my time brewing large volumes, I've noticed that scaling recipes from home or pilot systems up to a full commercial batch size is not as simple as it sounds. How does commercial brew house design impact on tweaking and scaling up and down homebrew or pilot recipes from other systems? Considering different commercial systems like Merlin or steam-jacketed kettles will have different hop utilization and color impacts.
Well, and see, again, I think, if you're doing something where you're using a calandria, that can have an effect.
Yeah.
I think that, again, just scaling up the volume of something does not affect it. Because the type of reactions we're talking about are, almost mechanical, right? It's not like the reaction changes. Reaction changes by applying a different amount of heat or a different amount of motion. That, I think, will affect it. But if your temperature and your gravity and your motion and the makeup of the wort and all that is exactly the same, doesn't matter. You can scale it infinitely, and you should end up with exactly the same IBUs and same hop profile and everything. So I think when you change that, let's say on your homebrew kettle, you're direct fire with a jet burner versus a banjo burner versus steam jacketed or a calandria or something like that. So there are a number of especially today with all the small commercial breweries, a lot of them are direct fire. It's not until you get up into the 30 barrel plus that it tends to go. They tend to do direct fire up to about like 15 barrels, and then past that they tend to go steam. And at about 30 barrels, they tend to go to a calandria or a Merlin or one of those, internal boiler configurations. Or they'll do them external too. And on something where it's external, you're pumping it around, right, through the calandria, external calandria, and back into the kettle. That additional motion can have some effect as well. So, again, I don't think it's the size thing. I think that you need to look at the equipment, the type of equipment. What's the difference? What kind of heat are you applying? What kind of motion are you applying? What kind of evaporation rate are you getting? What kind of when you're talking about the mash, what is the efficiency of one versus the other? What kind of extract are you getting? I mean, you should be able to do a quick test and just look at the mash from do the homebrew one right next to it, and then hold up your wort from the mash or collect some wort from the mash, save it up, and then compare them side by side. You can put them in a spectrophotometer. You can get a color reading on both. But is the color the same? If the color's not the same, well, then the flavor's probably not the same. And you either need to back down or go up on your amount of ingredients. Yeah. And then fermentation's a big one, because, and here's one thing I did when we were doing the Can You Brew It shows, was I always tried to figure out the height of the fermenters that were being used at the commercial brewery, and then make an adjustment temperature-wise for the homebrew batch. So if a commercial brewery with a tall tank, we have 120 barrel tanks, and they're 22 feet tall or whatever, I would adjust down if I was fermenting something at 68, well, then I would probably, as a home brewer, maybe ferment it at 67 or 66. If I would give a degree or two, one way or the other, for the size of the fermenter.
Trying to manipulate the ester profile?
Yeah, because the increased
static
height,
pressure versus temperature.
Right. The increased height, and especially once CO2 builds up in the liquid. Initially it's not as much, and you have the hydrostatic pressure. Those things impact the yeast and actually suppress yeast production of esters, and so that, I think, is one of the reasons that I think you can get away with a little bit warmer temperature on the commercial side, and so you need to shave that off a little bit on the homebrew side.
Right.
So that was another thing, and you need to be aware of how much yeast was pitched, and what yeast it was, the water profiles, the nutrients, things like that. So, especially on bigger beers, what you'll find in a lot of homebrew is that it hasn't attenuated out all the way, because often they're not providing the proper nutrition. And so, and then you get to a commercial scale where nutrition is a big part of it for a lot of them, and they will be adding zinc and things like that, and they'll get a full attenuation, and then the beer turns out higher alcohol, much drier, and so then all the other things like the amount of roast really starts popping out, and the bittering seems more prominent, and it's like, oh wow, it's way more bitter. That's because we scaled up and we needed to change our hop additions. It's like, well, no, that is not necessarily why that happened. It's based on something else. It may be that they got better efficiency and got more of the roast character out of the malts in some big imperial stout, and so there's all these little factors around it, and I don't think size is it. I think it's everything else.
So you're not really saying there shouldn't be any change to the recipes at all.
Right.
It's when you scale up, the equipment also has to change with that, just due to the nature of you getting way bigger.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have to account for that and kind of mimic what would be happening on the homebrew scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's all these other little factors that really have nothing to do with size, but are coming about because the equipment's changed. If you change your homebrew equipment, if you take your homebrew recipe and you brew it on your friend's wooden sticks and buckets,
of course it'll be different.
Or you brew it on your Brew Easy, it's going to be two different beers probably.
Yeah.
Maybe not. But yeah,
that's a good analogy for when you scale up, and it's different equipment in the end, but you want to make it as similar as you can.
One fascinating thing for clubs to do is to have everybody brew exactly the same recipe, and then taste the beers, and you'd be shocked at how different they are. And it tends to be, small equipment differences, the way the brewer brews, the way they ferment. Even on our commercial scale, and where we have very strict ways of doing things, and we're using the exact same ingredients, the exact same recipe, the person on the brew deck changes the beer. The person, working the fermentation changes the beer. The person, working packaging changes the beer. And so you got to be careful about these tiny little tweaks that result in something downstream that's kind of significant.
It's in the process, not the recipe.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. The recipe is not the problem. That's not the issue. And scaling the recipe, just use simple math. Then make your tweaks based on, well, I know that we could expect this to attenuate. And a lot of commercial brewers, they'll look at a homebrew recipe and then they'll say, well, what was your attenuation? And you look at it and you're like, well, I know we're going to get like 5 points more. So we'll have to make an adjustment if you want this to end up that sweet or, that area. And so it's those kinds of things. But I think there are some homebrewers out there that are performing at such a high level that their recipes, they can get pretty close to what they were doing before.
Yeah. Scale them purely linearly. Yeah.
Right.
Very cool.
I don't know. Anything else to add to that, John? About
no, I think that is a very good point. That the scale, scaling up a recipe is not just about scaling the ingredient amounts. It's also taking into account the difference in equipment and what the difference in equipment will make to the beer as a whole. So you may end up changing recipe amounts, but it's going to be based on equipment differences more so than volume, an overall volume increase.
Mm-hmm. A change in process versus just the fact of changing the size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
All righty. A good show, I think. Thank you all, and thanks to the listeners. Thanks to our sponsors. I think if you want to keep hearing shows like this, you should check out BlickmanEngineering.com and send a nice email to feedback@BlickmanEngineering.com and tell John how much you appreciated that he paid for the show you just listened to. And he really doesn't want anything in return, but I think it's nice to say thank you to somebody when they give you a gift. And I consider the show quite the gift.
Yeah.
Enough so that when John and I are homeless and we're out on the street corner trying to give people beer advice, maybe we'll miss this show, won't we?
That's right.
There you go. Yeah. All right.
Definitely will.
And you can also check out the Brewing Network store. Go to thebrewingnetwork.com/store. There's lots of goodies in there. Hats, hoods, shirts, hoodies, and all that other stuff. And when you buy that stuff, all the profit goes directly to the bottom line of the Brewing Network and helps pay for shows like this and all the others, keeps us on air. So until then, everybody, brew strong.
Brew strong, everyone.